Much appreciate y'all American people. Yeah, so today just wanted to discuss with you all American Indians versus foreign colonists and foreign operatives, right? Before we get into this, going to run these intros real quick and then going to get started, all right? Appreciate y'all time and your presence. Y'all be good. Abanki Palami, Igbi, Atak, Intikba, Atak Shanspo, Maliki Okla, Okcha, Abahanta, Chatayakni, Anli, Yukpali, Ishkifa Nishkin, Oglush Enla, Abinili, Chata Atak, Ishkafushi. Almighty Creator, ancestors, our American people, awake. This is divine sacred Chata land. Be faithful, be exalted. Foreign nations, colonists. You are in the eye of the tomahawk.
You're not black. Remember, we only kill black people. Yeah, we only kill black people, right?
How we gonna do it? The hard way. How we gonna do it? The hard way. How we gonna do it? The hard way.
We the people have been poisoned. Have you or anyone you know experienced hair loss, balding, bleeding issues, cancers, diabetes, and related health problems? These conditions and many others are the result of rat poisoning. In the early 1900s, eugenicists created a rat poison chemical which has intentionally been placed into personal care cosmetic product formulas, especially products labeled as natural. This chemical was designed to destroy your body on a cellular level through your blood. Common and popular brands contain this toxic rat poison chemical formula. Since at least the 1950s, millions of people have been suffering due to the damage caused by this chemical. Within each generation, the harm increases as this chemical crosses the placenta, compromising the natural development of babies. This book reveals not only the origins of this chemical, the harm to natural and reproductive health, but also the people responsible and the billions of dollars they profit each year. Visit stopthegenocide.us for more information. All right, let's go and get into it. Appreciate your presence, appreciate your time, all of that. So first and foremost, just want to be real clear. America is a continent, right? North, Central, South, including the Caribbean, right? This is a single continent, okay? See, here's a classic image. As you see, this is in the Dutch language, okay? Now, continuing. The American people, our American people, we are a race, a distinct race from all others, all right? All others are foreign to our American people, our American race, in addition to foreign to this American continent. Last week, I showed a text showing you that this name, America and American, it comes from our American nation's people's language tied to the land. America, the name itself, pertains to the land, mountains that range from South America all the way up here to North America. All right? Continuing. This reference here, as well as this reference here, right?
These are from a classic 1800s anthropologist, archaeologist, and ethnologist. All right. He studied races. Okay. He studied skulls, etc. Right. So he put together a classification of what he called the quote unquote human species. So I'm just going to zoom in on this. All right. Says the following classification is a slight modification of that published in my Crania Americana. The races correspond with those of Professor Blumenbach's system, which latter differs but little from that of Buffon. The subdivision into families is based upon ethnographic analogies, both physical and philological. Philological pertains to the study of language, right? So he begins with the Caucasian race, right? So we see here, right at the bottom, Caucasian race, right? The Gepetic or Indo-European branch, the Pelagic or Caucasian family, the Germanic family, the Celtic family, the Indo-Stonic family. All right. So that last one, 4, that's Kamala Harris and them people, them Hindus. All right. Let's continue though. Over here now, it goes to the continuation of 1. It says B, the Semitic or Syro-Arabian branch, the Arabian family, the Hebrew family. So that right there, that includes Moors and Hebrews, as you see, obviously, right? They are Caucasians. They fall into that classification. All right, continue. C, once again, this is still dealing with the Caucasian race, all right? The Hamitic or Egypto-Libyan branch, the Nilotic or Egyptian family, the Libyan family. Continuing now. Second, Mongolian race, the Mongol-Tartar family, the Turkish family, the Chinese family, the Indo-Chinese family, the Polar family. 3, the Malay race, the Malay family, the Polynesian family. 4, the American race, the American family, the Toltecan family. All right. Then concluding with 5, the Negro race, the Negro family, the Kafrarian family, the Afro-African or Hottentot family, the Oceanic Negro family, the Australian family. I'm showing you this with emphasis on us, our American people being of the American race. Once again, America is a race. America comes from our distinct American peoples, all right? Our nations, our territory throughout this continent here. This is ours. And we have to claim it as ours, all right? Regardless of the propaganda. Now, let's go ahead and get into the primary of what I would like to share to you all, right? So, we're discussing American Indians, us versus foreign colonists and foreign operatives, right? So, this is a classic image here. It's called anti-capitalism, right? So, at the top of this, let me go to zoom in. Matter of fact, let me do the screen big as well. Where we at? Right here. Cool. All right. Go to zoom in some more. I want you all to really see how this foreign caste system works, right? So, at the very top, that looks like government officials, right? Quote unquote royal class, major corporate executives, things of this nature, right? And it says there, we rule you, right? Continuing. Now you got the religious class right there. It says, we fool you, right? Continuing. Now this is the police, military class. We shoot at you, right? Continuing here. Now you have these seemingly wealthy people, all right? And it says, we eat for you. Then down here at the bottom, it says, we work for all. So they work for everyone above them, right? And it also says, we feed all, okay? So this is a classic image once again. Now let's go to proceed. So here we have the feudal pyramid of power. All right. So you have the quote unquote king, the nobles, then you have law enforcement / knights and vassals. Okay. And at the very bottom, you have the slave / peasant class. All right. The workforce, if you will, which is consistent with what we see over here. Right. Moving along. I'm going to drop this link in the chat as well so that you all can, have additional context for yourselves if you choose to, follow up with what I'm presenting in today's video, right? So someone put together this presentation on social stratification, slavery, caste, estate, and class, right? So caste, estate, and class, all right? So they organize this very well. It's very well put together, generally speaking. I would definitely encourage you all to review this because it is very relevant, it's very evident today. An example of this that I can present to you all immediately. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with the current economic and employment demographics, right? And the data, the statistics related to this, right? Let's jump right to it. Throughout our communities, which have been invaded, right? Foreigners have displaced our people throughout numerous, damn near every sector of activity. All right. This is very active. We're talking about the mechanical fields. We're talking about transportation fields. We're going into law enforcement in a moment. I'm about to show y'all some real serious shit that's going on. Salute to Sister Soul. She just spoke on it yesterday, I believe. I didn't have a chance to watch the video in its entirety, but I'm gonna show y'all some additional information dealing with the law enforcement aspect of foreigners positioning themselves for future engagement on our land. All right, because that's what this is really about. All right, real serious, etc. But what we're seeing here is a literal replacement. Now, I don't know if there's anyone else speaking on this subject matter in the way in which I will be getting into it. However, I just want you all to pay attention to what's taking place throughout your communities, right? I will be sharing some suggestions to you all within this video, but I need you all to be aware of what's going on within your communities, right? Reason being, we have places like California, right? California territory. Here's an article. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Get out of there. I'm going to put this in the chat for you all as well. Here you go. All right. It says right here, new California law allows non-U.S. citizens to become police officers. What do you think about that? I mean, all truth and reality, what do you think about non-citizens, invaders, becoming police officers in California? All right. This was published January 12th of 2023, right? Because with the new year comes new state laws, including one that changed the qualifications to become a police officer in California. Now, anyone who can legally work in the state under federal law can become a police officer, regardless of their citizenship. Okay, so what do you think about a 14-year-old that has a work permit, right? Youth, they're a citizen. They're legally able to work, right? What do you think about a 14-year-old becoming a police officer? What do you think about that? I asked this question for two reasons. First is they're legally able to work, as it says right here, okay, regardless of their citizenship. And we're talking about a 14-year-old that is a citizen. Their mother, their father, etc., is a citizen, whatever their ancestry genealogy is, right? Whatever their heritage may be, they're 14 years old, they have a work permit, and based on what we're seeing here, they qualify by default to become a member of law enforcement, right? Sounds like a good career. It's getting too early, right? But we're speaking in regards to foreign immigrants, invaders, a new breed of colonists that come with, we have no idea what type of background. There's been numerous incidents of rapes, assaults, robberies, burglaries, murders, etc. Okay? We've already had these issues in the past, but now these issues are about to be completely multiplied. We've had Afghanistanians brought over here, rapists, Africans from whatever region of Africa brought over here, rapists, murderers, robbers, etc. Right? Along with everybody else. They come here. They're being welcomed here. And they're being allowed to, legally work? And as a result of being able to legally work, they can become a police officer? We don't even know these people's identities. We don't even know exactly where they came from. We don't know exactly what their background is, where they came from, because we got Chinese coming over here and they're being described as being soldiers. Okay? Biolab was just found last week in California. Matter of fact, it wasn't found. The investigation concluded last week. They had been investigating it for numerous months, but it finally made the news last week. A biolaboratory, an illegal, unlawful biolaboratory operated by the Chinese in California, right? But they're legally able to work too? They're legally able to become police officers, etc. We're talking about corrupt individuals, people that do not have our ideals, people that do not have our beliefs, that are not familiar with the level of prosperity, this quality of life throughout our American territories, right? They come from places that are deprived. If you look at the statistics in regards to the places where they come from, whether it's Asia, whether it's Africa, etc., right? Throughout these regions, they're war-torn. They deal with corruption, and many of these people are operatives for their governments. They have no problem killing, slaughtering their own people. And now we've been invaded by, millions upon millions of these foreign invaders, and we have no idea exactly who they are, what they got a background in, and that's in addition to genetic memory. Their offspring have already been pre-programmed to behave differently from us. That's in addition to the fact where they come from, they view our people, just because of our complexion, our natural complexion, right? They view us as Africans, and where they come from, they hate Africans. In Africa itself, right? Throughout that region of the world, Euro-Afro-Asia, that supercontinent, right? That's one single continent, right? One landmass, right? Euro-Afro-Asia. Africans hate each other. Active massacres taking place right now. I have current footage, video footage. They film each other in unpaved streets, burning their own people alive. Groups of people, they burn them alive in the streets. Little boys between the ages of 5 to 16 years old saying Allahu Akbar, cutting off the head of an adult male in villages, whether they're soldiers or they're villagers. We're not being informed here in North America. Throughout our territories, we have not been informed of what's really taking place in these foreign regions of the world where these invaders are coming from. Okay? Continue with this article now. A few years ago, what was that, 2020? We had the Black Lives Matter, which was, as y'all aware, funded by George Soros, 1. 2, the primary people within that organization, they're all Africans. Those 3 women, those 3 females, rather, because I don't know what to classify them as. I don't even know how to classify themselves. When you look into the situation, it's sloppy. Don't make sense. It's unnatural. Regardless of them getting caught up in fraud and this, that, and the other, their campaign was defund the police in 2020. defund the police in 2020, right? It says here, the San Diego Police Department has lost over 500 officers since July of 2020. That's drastic, it says. We need everyone we can to be able to be a police officer. However, we are not in favor of reducing the requirements and lowering the standards. Okay? Prior to January 1st, 2023, you had to be a United States citizen or permanent resident to qualify for the job. Now that's no longer the case. Anyone who is legally authorized to work in the state of California under federal law with the proper green card or visa is eligible to become a police officer. Now, I'm gonna leave that right there. Let's go to continue. So that was California generally right there, the state, right? Now, this is an article, Fox News situation here. Let me go ahead and drop this in the link, drop this in the chat as well. Probably get more serious in a hot minute here. Got something for you. Once again, this for awareness, which contributes to preparedness, right? It says here, San Francisco Police Department hired unvetted, undocumented officers to fill staff vacancies, audit finds. So there was an audit and it found unvetted, undocumented officers to fill staff vacancies. I mean, what do you think about this? So the San Francisco Police Department hired undocumented, unqualified officers to address a staffing shortage in the crime-ridden city, an audit has revealed. Okay, let's continue. Next, we have New Jersey Monitor. All right, I'm going to drop this in the chat as well. New Jersey Monitor. It says, bill would allow DACA recipients, DACA recipients to become New Jersey cops, correctional officers. Okay? Star Strike, appreciate your presence. How you doing? Lawmakers in New Jersey want to pave the path for some undocumented immigrants to work in law enforcement, a strategy supporters say could alleviate staffing shortages in jails and prisons. Okay, so let me zoom in on this text here so you all can see this real clear. This is very interesting. It says the bill would allow people in the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, commonly known as DACA, D-A-C-A, to become police officers, state and county correctional officers, and juvenile correctional officers. The federal program provides deportation protection and work permits to some undocumented immigrants who arrive in the U.S. before the age of 16. That's incredible, right? It says here, continuing, New Jersey is home to an estimated 16,500 DACA recipients, also known as Dreamers. They're also known as Dreamers, okay? Under the program enacted during the Obama administration, this is from the Obama administration, okay? Recipients have to renew their residency and work permits every 2 years. It says, continuing, corrections officials have told lawmakers that there are more than 400 job vacancies in jails. And in 2021, state troopers said they saw historically low applications to become police officers. So what does this mean? Yo, they got a lot of vacancies wide open for illegal immigrants / invaders of whatever age. Remember, these are Dreamers. They were children once upon a time ago. During the Obama administration, they were children. Fast forward, they're adults. They've adapted since they've been here. They have been taught to hate our people. Don't get it confused. Do not get it confused. Was it last week? I showed you all briefly. I need to continue with that presentation as well. I showed y'all how, quote unquote, white supremacists are recruiting. They're working with those that call themselves Hispanic / Latinos, right? I showed y'all in past presentations the origin of the term Hispanic and the origin of the term Latino. For Hispanic is Hispano-Arab, okay? That's the first part. Second part is for Latino, the origin of that is Ladino, okay? And they're all associated to the real bloodline Moors. as well as the Hebrews. It comes from them. All right. And over the centuries and, many, many years back, they have been crossbreeding between Euro-Afro-Asia, and now those descendants are being shipped here, as we see, right? Let's go to continue. Now to Chicago. New bill would allow migrants to serve as law enforcement pending Pritzker's approval. Okay. It says, non-U.S. citizens may soon be able to become police officers pending Governor Pritzker's approval. Federal law only allows U.S. citizens to serve as as officers and deputies. But since this bill passed the Illinois House and Senate, it could soon see work-eligible immigrants become a part of law enforcement in the state of Illinois. Are we seeing a pattern here? Okay, so this was published June 21st, 2023, right? For New Jersey, this was published July 5th, 2023. For San Francisco, this article was published March 20th, 2023. All right. That's the one with San Francisco. For the state of California, this article is dated January 12th. Are we seeing a clear pattern, a strategy, literally unraveling before our eyes here? I mean, and also, let's just think about it, right? When they have these interviews, these brief interviews with these illegal immigrants, right? These invaders, they all say, oh, we come here for work. We come here for a better life, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you come here to work. As Americans, let's just be real clear and honest about that. When they say they want to come here to work, just keep in mind, they're coming here to work against us, period. They're not here to aid us, to support us. No. Their predecessors, the previous generations of them, at what point in time have they aided us? Did we even need their aid? Did we need their assistance? Did they bring any resources? Name one foreigner that has brought any resources to aid and support, reinforce any of our American nations. Anywhere throughout history. And we can put a date of, let's just generally say 1500. From 1500 forward, what have foreign nations done in support? Resource-wise, right? Righteously, right? What foreign nation has supported any of ours? Because throughout these centuries, all we see is colonization, warfare, and all types of abuses against our American nations, our American race. Okay? In regards to a better life, that's at the expense of our lives. Our land has always been better than where they came from. It has always been better. True or false? Our natural environments, full of everything that we need to sustain ourselves here. To the point where foreigners, they have created an entire import-export system, primarily exporting of our resources. From the land to the people. Our intellectual property. Yo, we just had the Henrietta Lacks settlement took place, what was that, Monday? Right? Yesterday. Henrietta Lacks, this American Indian woman, but they want to call her an African American, correct? Now, on that particular subject here, this was an American woman whose cells, which they call immortal cells, have been sold without her consent, one, nor the consent of her descendants, her relatives, etc. And they have been engaged in lawsuit after lawsuit for the past, maybe 40 years? 40 years of lawsuits against foreign entities. Now, reason why I bring that point up, right? Let me go and pull up that article as well, right? I'm going to pull this up. In regards to this Henrietta Lacks situation, right? With the STG work that I've been doing, Stop the Genocide work, right? Now, I presented a question, right? I presented a question to you all. Um, how many more of our American people's genetic material has been sold without their knowledge or consent? All right. And that's in regards to Planned Parenthood. Okay. We've had historically numerous Planned Parenthood locations throughout our territories and communities, right? And whether it's Planned Parenthood or the hospital, they ask our American mothers and daughters to, quote unquote, donate their genetic material, their tissue, right, of whatever type, for, quote unquote, research. Meanwhile, that same genetic material is being sold. And these American mothers and daughters, for one, they're not being informed that it's going to be sold. One, so that's a lack of full disclosure. That's fraud. One. Two, they're not even receiving royalties in which Henrietta Lacks' descendants have been suing for. And a settlement was just reached yesterday. Okay? A settlement was just reached yesterday. Once again, how many more millions of our natural American mothers and daughters' genetic material has been sold without their knowledge, without their consent, for profit, and ultimately to be used against all of us? That's what's going on here. Multi-billion-dollar a year stem cell industry. Okay? I'm going to continue now. Where we at with it? Here we go. So now, NYPD officers and immigrants. Let me go and put this link in the chat as well. There we go. Where we at with it? Right here. All right. What's the article say? Come on. Here we go. It says NYPD's ranks are filled with thousands of immigrants. No, there's a lot of abuse, past and present, from within the NYPD against our American people, right? Now there's more immigrants. Look, it says here, it was 1982, and Ramos was only 6 months old when his parents paid the retired colonel $700 to smuggle them in a pickup truck from Mexico. These are invaders. They're being smuggled in. They're being led here. It says, continuing here, the president often paints immigration as a path for criminals to enter the U.S., but 22% of the 2,800 police officers hired in the last year and a half are foreign-born. 22% of NYPD officers hired in the past year, okay, in the last year and a half are foreign-born. That's 22%. And once again, where these invaders come from, they hate us. They are taught to hate us. I'm saying us in regards to our American race. This includes the Africans that are taught to hate us. This is documented. Plenty of footage, plenty of their own words describing how they hate Americans. All you Americans are lazy, blah, 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 blah. Yo, how are we lazy? Oh, you a cotter, you a cotton picker. Hey, yo, cotton is our crop. What do you mean we're not supposed to pick from our land? We're not supposed to prosper from our resources? You serious? So you're gonna call us lazy, and then you're gonna disrespect us for managing the resources on our land, right? This is the ignorance. This is the ignorance. And so a point that I wanted to make with you all, right? So when we observe the caste system, right? Where is it at? Right here. Let me zoom out of this so you can see this clearly. Within the caste system, right? The first thing that these foreigners will do is get into law enforcement. It immediately positions them with security. It provides them with security and the ability to be authoritative and to be abusive towards those at the bottom, as you see on the screen right there. All right. Law enforcement in the middle, right there at the top, as you see on the screen. And then at the bottom, whoever is working. We work for all, right? So simultaneously, what we've observed, right? We'll see foreigners working at the bottom, one. Meanwhile, they'll have relatives that are working in these other positions. Positions of law enforcement, military, positions of business ownership, positions of religious influence, right? With the goal of being at the very top. That's the overall goal. When we look at the history of Mexico, also known as Mexico, Brazil, everything that's taken place throughout the history of the Caribbean, Central and South America since the invasion, right? We look at that. We look at the past activity, whereas they impose the system of blanqueamiento, the bleaching of our American nation's population, which included both ethnocide as well as all-out genocide campaigns. All right, this was very strategic. These are foreign invaders, and they have been breeding prior to their arrival, and now that they're here, they're still breeding, and they're being bred against our American race. As I've shown y'all, we have our own race over here. The American race, that is us, that is ours. This continent, ours, all the resources, etc. Our resources are to sustain ourselves. It's not to sustain no foreigner. This past weekend, I was in a dialogue, an exchange with one of the peoples. And I clearly said to them, yo, what do our American people need from an African or any foreigner? What do we need from any foreigner? I ask you all the same question. What do our American people need from any foreigner? What do we need? Put in the chat, what do we need from any foreigner? Yeah. We have our own food. We have our own culture. We have our own land. We have clean air. We have clean water. We have clean, fresh soil. We have everything we need right here to live and exist a healthy life, perpetually, generation after generation. In the foreigners' text, they document how healthy we are. I'm showing y'all how they rat poison our people within the past 100 years, which has produced a decline in our health, a sharp decline in our people's health, both mental health as well as physical health. The word starts right. Yeah. What do we need for foreigners? To take a long walk off a cliff. Word. Yeah, that's the truth. We can get the fuck out of here. Bottom line, we don't need them here. Right? Let's go to continue now. So once again, the NYPD has hired 22% of foreign-born illegal invaders. 22% of NYPD officers hired in the last year are illegals. They're foreign-born, right? Continuing. Now we have this article here. This is dated May 5th, 2023. Let me go put this in the chat as well. Take a look. Hey, babe, what's happening? Peace, fam. And they are continuing in their practices while in office and position to change the laws to benefit the new invaders, their cousins. Tay Bay, exactly. Appreciate your presence. Exactly. Right? To benefit, changing laws to benefit more invaders. Right? Where we at with it? Right here. Hundreds of migrants to be housed in NYPD's former police academy building. Right? It says hundreds of migrants to be housed in NYPD's former police academy building. What do you think about that? That was a Academy. That's where training takes place at, right? How does this sound? They're being housed where NYPD, who has a history of abuse, by the way, right? They have a long history of abuse towards our American people, right? Yo, these invaders are being housed there? What do you think about that? Continue here. It says the NYPD's former Manhattan Police Academy building is being transformed into a shelter for hundreds of migrants as the city struggles to house the growing number of asylum seekers entering the Big Apple, the Post has learned. Continuing, officials with the Office of Emergency Management were spotted on Thursday night setting up rows upon rows of green cots inside the first floor gym of the Gramercy Park facility in preparation for an influx of up to 500 migrants. And so, once again, right? We're talking about a police academy that has now been turned into a housing facility, one. Okay. So this is a training ground that's going to hold 500 invaders. Yo, do you hear how this sounds, right? And that's in addition to what we just read over here, right? Within the past year and a half, the NYPD has hired like 22% of their police force currently. They're foreigners, they're invaders. You serious? Are you seeing the pattern? We have California, numerous territories on the West Coast, right? And now going into the Midwest, Chicago, other territories throughout the Midwest, right? Going into the South as well as the East Coast, okay? New York, New Jersey. That's what we're seeing here, right? Continuing now. It says here, this is Wisconsin radio. It says, state lawmakers try again to allow DACA recipients to become police officers in Wisconsin. Now, let me tell you something interesting about Wisconsin. So, as I showed y'all in my book and documentary, I'm not sure how many of y'all have seen my book or seen my documentary. However, it's very interesting. We have the University of Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, right? So, Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation. Now, that is the university from which the rat poison chemical coumarin was created. All right. Now, continuing. Now we have. So let's put this in perspective real quick. About a good 100 years ago, they developed the rat poison. Right, upwards of 100 years ago, they developed a rat poison that's throughout personal care cosmetic products. One factor, right? That rat poison chemical has disrupted the natural health of countless of millions of peoples within the past 100 years. Fast forward now, Wisconsin, they have legislation aiming to address struggles to hire and retain law enforcement officers by scrubbing non-citizen prohibition. Yo, what does this sound like to you all? Like, we have active issues, very active. These are issues and active threats. All right, let's go to continue. So, I want to share some serious things to you all, right? So I'm going to get through all of this. So this is a map of sanctuary cities. Let me go and put this link in the chat for you all as well, because I would definitely like for you all to, really see what's taking place. All right. You go right there. Where we at? Right here. So this map, and they're all of North America, the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, Midwest, etc. Sanctuary cities. Our resources, our American races, our American peoples, our American nations, descendants, resources, right? It's all being attacked right now. Now let's go and take a look at this one. This article dates back to 2015. This is in regards to Texas. I'll have to read some of this to you. I shared this some years ago as well. And once again, what do you think about all of this? Like, seriously, what do you think? It says here, Nigerians are flocking to work in Texas prisons. An immigration trend changes the face of corrections. An immigration trend changes the face of corrections. Nigerians are flocking to work in Texas prisons. Check it. So the Peoples recently did a presentation showing the land lottery, right? Now there is a visa lottery. There's been a visa lottery for some time anyways, right? This Don character from Lagos, Nigeria, he flew from Lagos, Nigeria to Boston in September 2008 after winning a visa through a lottery run by the United States State Department. He spent 3 days in Boston with a friend and then moved to Los Angeles, where he knew a pastor from back home. Wow, isn't that incredible? He went from Boston, where he has a friend, then to Los Angeles. So from Boston, so from Nigeria to Boston, from Boston to Los Angeles, right? Continuing, he worked as a security guard at the Staples Center, right? He took a second job transporting blood between doctors and laboratories. Whose blood? Whose blood was he transporting? Once again, we're talking about the stem cell industry, right? Planned Parenthood, biomedical corporations, right? He's transporting tissue. He's transporting natural resources from our American people that don't even know that their natural resources, their genetic material is being sold without their consent. They have no idea this is happening. And so this Nigerian here, he's participating. He's a transporter of our people's genetic material. His wife and children, they now have 2 boys and girls. So he came over here, he bred, right? Eventually joined him and they squeezed into a single room in the pastor's house. So hold on. It says, Don, his wife, 2 boys and 2 girls, who eventually joined him, right? So that's total of, what's that, 6 people? They squeeze into a single room in the pastor's house. It says, in terms of job opportunities, California was as dry as Africa. In regards to job opportunities, this African said California was as dry as Africa. Yo, why? Why is California as dry as Africa? Why? I've showed y'all the information on scorched earth policy, right? Past presentations, I've shown y'all that, right? Additionally, we think about it, think to ourselves, right? When all the sectors of professional trade skills, etc., are being saturated, right? Like to the point where we don't have the HUD Section 3 program. No, we was told Section 8. We wasn't told nothing about Section 3, right? That was for contracts to provide services throughout our communities, hire our people, provide resources, services, professional services, landscaping contracts, carpentry, electrical, plumbing, etc. All these are contracts based on trade skills, in addition to supporting other businesses, supporting local economies. That's what the HUD funding was for. Let me see. Empress Roro, what did you say? You might find the NAACP involved. Absolutely. They represented DACA at the Supreme Court a few years ago. Absolutely. Empress Roro, you're absolutely correct. Also, keep in mind, the NAACP was a Planned Parenthood eugenics program. They created it. Eugenicists created Planned Parenthood. W.B. Du Bois, he worked under Margaret Sanger. Was he a test tube baby? Are they all test tube babies? I don't know. I really don't know. But based on their behavior and conduct, who do they serve? What advancement for quote unquote colored people? What advancement have we observed since their creation? I'm just asking, right? Anyway, long story short, Nigerians and other Africans are flocking to work in Texas prisons, right? Continuing. Now this is where it gets interesting, right? So you all, I ask, have you heard of qualified immunity. Okay. Yeah, Star Strike, what you said, they've been in Maryland prisons for 15 years. Incredible, right? And so, as a result of these immigrants, these invaders receiving these employments, right, in law enforcement, etc., they get what's known as qualified immunity. All right. So this is from law.cornell. All right. I'm going to drop the link for this as well. So it's incredible, right? So let's put this in perspective real quick. So here it is. Black Lives Matter promoted defund the police, which supposedly resulted in numerous law enforcement position vacancies, right? Simultaneously, we have illegal invaders coming in, past and present, right? And they are getting via legislation throughout all of these territories, all these states, these companies, right? All the states are companies and all of that, right? They're being invited to become members of law enforcement, one. And two, as a result of this hiring process, as an illegal immigrant, as a non-citizen, does that mean that they also get qualified immunity? Do you all know what qualified immunity is? Let's go and read about it. It says qualified immunity is a type of legal immunity, right? Let's go ahead and click the link on what is legal immunity, right? What is legal immunity? Okay. It says here, immunity refers to a legal protection that exempts a person from liability, punishment, or legal action that would otherwise apply. Let me read that again. Immunity refers to legal protection that exempts a person from liability, punishment, or legal action that would otherwise apply. So, once again, we have invaders, non-citizens, undocumented, unvetted, unqualified, based on what we've read this morning, and they're in position to get qualified immunity. They're exempt from liability, punishment, or legal action that would otherwise apply. Are you serious? Are you seeing what's going on here? Should this not be discussed? Let's continue. Qualified immunity balances two important interests: the need to hold public officials accountable when they exercise power irresponsibly, and the need to shield officials from harassment, distraction, and liability when they perform their duties reasonably. Specifically, qualified immunity protects a government official from lawsuits alleging that the official violated a plaintiff's rights, only allowing suits where officials violated a clearly established statutory or constitutional right. When determining whether a right was clearly established, courts consider whether a hypothetical reasonable official would have known that the defendant's conduct violated the plaintiff's rights. Yo, every day rights are being violated. Country Boy Archaeology, appreciate your presence. Up early every day. You already know. What you said, Marion Stewart, government hired hitmen. Interesting, right? Isn't this interesting? And so we're discussing how, here it is, we have invaders that are being welcomed, like they're being invited to have qualified immunity. Remember, members of law enforcement, public officials, a police officer is a public official. They're supposed to swear an oath to the United States of America Constitution, correct? To serve, protect, defend the Constitution of the United States of America, which is based upon our American nation's great law of peace, right? I'm going to do a presentation on that. I'm going to show y'all that text as well. It's in my book. But let's get back to this, though. So let's run this back real quick. New bill would allow migrants, undocumented, unvetted, right? That's what we've been covering this morning. Non-U.S. citizens to become police officers. It said that they're undocumented, they're unqualified, Only thing they have to do is be legally authorized to work under federal law. That's it. With the proper green card or visa. These are the only requirements. What kind of background check is involved in this? I mean, okay, so hold on. Let's get this straight real quick. So some of y'all might have seen the footage out of New York, right? Some of y'all might have seen the footage out of New York where at those hotels, you know, those luxury 5-star hotels that these migrants were invited to, everything being prepaid and etc. So hold on, let's get this straight real quick. They were doing drugs. They was complete alcoholics in there. All types of abuses, assaults, and all types of madness was taking place here, right? Now they're being they went from 5-star hotel. I guess that was to make them hungry, right? I guess that was make them hungry, like oh, this is the good life, right? So we're gonna take you from the good life, and then we're gonna put you in a police academy, right? That's what we see over here. So they take them from a 5-star hotel to a police academy, okay? Then they get hired as law enforcement. Then they get hired as law enforcement. Are we seeing what's happening here? And once again, this here is the map. All of these territories here are being invaded, and they're going to be, these invaders will become recipients or people, individuals with qualified immunity. Yo, they just made a, this is enhanced organized crime that we're about to witness and experience. This is about to be enhanced organized crime in a way in which we have never seen before. Mark my words. Continuing, right? On this qualified immunity subject here, right? Qualified immunity is not immunity from having to pay money damages, but rather immunity from having to go through all the cost of a trial at all, right? Qualified immunity only applies to suits against government officials as individuals, not suits against the government for damages caused by the official's actions. Although qualified immunity frequently appears in cases involving police officers, it also applies to most other executive branch officials. While judges, prosecutors, legislators, and some other government officials do not receive qualified immunity, most are protected by other immunity doctrines. Wow. Incredible, right? This is incredible, ain't it? Let's go to continue. Let's proceed. So now let me go ahead and put this link in the chat for you all as well. This is Legal Defense Fund, and they have a great article here. Drop that right there. What do you say, Marion Stewart? Meanwhile, they reject American Indians and citizens from those police academies every day. Wow. And so let me share something to you about that, Marion. Literally, we can create our own law enforcement within our territories. I mean, period. Like, we have that ability. We have plenty. One of my clients, right? So she's down in Texas or what have you. She has a background as a military police officer. I'm sure she's very well qualified. She's Blackfoot. She's American Indian. All we have to do is determine what it is that we want to do and invest in it. That's what needs to happen here. There's funding available. But when we don't have people encouraging, opportunities, encouraging security and reinforcing, investments to secure our present going into our future, then what's being encouraged? Counterproductivity, I would say, right? These people currently in this government are running amok on this country. Absolutely. Legend, appreciate your presence. How you doing today? Let's go continue though, right? So, yeah, we're at this article here, and then I have a few more pieces to show you all before I conclude. Once again, appreciate your time and your presence. But this is a whole threat on so many levels. I just want to be very clear about that. I don't know. Once again, I don't know who else anywhere on social media is speaking about these issues, but this is an active threat in addition to the numerous other active threats, right? So this article is titled Debunking Myths About Qualified Immunity and Examining Its Dangerous Realities. So it begins here. Let me zoom in. Imagine there is a children's birthday party in your backyard and officers enter and shoot a child while trying to kill your dog. Imagine you're in your bathing suit at a public pool, and as you walk away from a police officer, he body slams you so hard it breaks your clavicle and renders you unconscious. Imagine you are on your front porch searching for a misplaced set of keys when several police officers suddenly attack and arrest you. All right? Imagine these police officers all get away with these horrific acts because of qualified immunity, which shields them from personal liability for their actions, even if those actions are unconstitutional. And then realize that you don't have to imagine anything. And then realize that you don't have to imagine anything. You don't have to imagine this. There's plenty of videos, footage, court cases, etc. about all of this, right? All these incidents and the lack of accountability that came along with them actually unfolded in reality. And similar circumstances will continue to occur if the qualified immunity doctrine remains in place. Now, here's a little history on what is qualified immunity. So I've already read you the legal definition of it, right? Now, this is the history of it. So it says here, the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, part of a series of enforcement acts established to protect, quote unquote, black people's rights. Now, let me give y'all a little background on the KKK, right? So some of y'all might have heard of the guy by the name of Albert Pike. So he was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason, 1. 2, he was also a Confederate brigadier general. So he was a general of slave soldiers, okay? Continuing, he was also a lawyer for the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and numerous other American nations during the treaty signing periods of the 1860s. Okay? I want y'all to think about that. He was a general for slave soldiers. Scottish Rite 33rd degree Mason. He was the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, while also being an attorney for numerous American Indian nations during the treaty signing periods between those nations and the United States in the 1860s. We're talking about 1865, 1866 American nations treaties with the United States, right? So that's a little background on the KKK. Continuing. It says allows people to sue government officials for civil rights violations. But the Supreme Court has determined that even though this act's provisions say nothing about officials being granted immunity, common law at the time the act was passed dictated that government officials did in fact have immunities that protected them from lawsuits. So this is stemming from common law. Qualified immunity is a judicial doctrine that is evolved from this reasoning. The doctrine protects government officials, including law enforcement and prison officials, from being sued unless they are found to have violated clearly established law, an unreasonable and deeply stringent standard that requires victims to point to a nearly identical case of unconstitutional conduct in their attempts to obtain justice. Dee, appreciate your presence. How you doing today? Yo, what do you think about this? I mean, seriously. You have to know constitutional law. You have to know cases from clearly established law in order for you to be able to obtain justice. That's what it just said here, right? How can someone, let me just ask this question here. So, once again, it begins with police officers shoot a child while trying to kill your dog. And so you need to know constitutional law. You have to know clearly defined constitutional law cases, right? To provide merit for your claim to remove disqualified immunity. You have to know constitutional law to remove qualified immunity. That's what we just read here. How many people are taking classes on this subject matter? How many people within your community, within your territory right now today has all these cases right at their fingertips where they can immediately, oh, if someone does this, if a public official does this to you, yeah, we're going to use this right here. Do we have these type of people within our communities? Oh, that's right. No, we have those quote unquote attorneys that serve the state before the client. That's in CJS, Corpus Juris Secundum 7, when you define what an attorney is. Corpus Juris Secundum 7, definition of attorney. They render their client, attorneys render their clients wards of the state / wards of the court, meaning that they are an absolute minority when they go to court. You're an absolute minority. You are inferior to this quote unquote law when you hire an attorney. But of course, the attorney's not going to tell you this. Why would they? I mean, it's profitable, right? It's profitable to rape and engage in human trafficking because that's what's going on here. That's in addition to the fact that you've been abused. They shot your child while trying to kill your dog, it says here. Or you're in your bathing suit, you're leaving a swimming pool, and then you get body slammed out of nowhere, and you break your clavicle, and you're left unconscious, and they got qualified immunity. And you have to know, either you have to know constitutional law to obtain justice, all right, or you got to know somebody that knows constitutional law in order for you to obtain justice, right? And the first thing you want to do, that you're told to do, if you suffered an injury, contact our law firm. Our attorneys will help you. Sure they will. Sure they will. Continuing. A qualified immunity does not apply to criminal charges or prosecutions. It does impede one of the only ways civilians can hold government officials accountable, by suing them in civil court. Civil court? Hold on. That's criminal. If they shoot your child while trying to kill your dog, is that not criminal? Okay, so once again, if you was to go to your neighbor's house, right? Let's say you have an issue with your neighbor and you are trying to shoot the dog, but you shoot the child, shoot your neighbor's child. Guess what? You're a criminal for that, right? Is this not a form of discrimination? I mean, just logically speaking, right? Reasonably, intelligently inquiring, right? Is that not a form of discrimination? Like, hold on. So hold on. For you, you go to civil court because you have qualified immunity, right? But for me, if I do the same thing that you done did, I'm going to criminal court. That's incredible, ain't it? All right. So this article is very good. So they have the myth here: law enforcement officers will face bankruptcy if qualified immunity is abolished. That's not true. It says, but it's not actually true. Law enforcement officers are virtually always indemnified. Know why they're indemnified? I'm about to show y'all why they're indemnified. I'm about to show you the actual bond. I'm about to show you, like, they're bonded and insured. It's called surety. I'm going to pose a question to you all before I conclude as well. Let's continue. It's qualified immunity. If qualified immunity is abolished or limited, a slew of frivolous cases aimed at law enforcement will hit the courts. The myth is rooted in pure fear-mongering. The current legal reality and plain common sense convincingly debunk the notion that myriad frivolous cases will flood the courts the moment qualified immunity is limited or otherwise abolished. For one, various procedural safeguards exist that allow courts to toss frivolous lawsuits in early stages. Yo, we the people, our American people, we need to know law. We're dealing with colonists. We're dealing with invaders. The law by default is ours here. This is our land. This is our law. Simultaneously knowing our laws, right, which must be restored, which must be honored. It's already documented, right? All we have to do is know it, claim it, and enforce it, right? Next to that is knowing the foreigners' laws. Yo, Brown Fox, good day. How you doing? Appreciate your presence. So, we have to know not only our laws and enforce them, but also the foreigners' laws. Because once again, right? Our American nations have treaties with the European nations. following the treaties, the classic treaties, the old treaties that are still in force to this day. Supreme Court decision already stated this, right? It already stated this. All of our treaties are to be enforced. They are to be honored. They are to be respected, period, right? That's one factor. Second factor, we have treaties with the United States of America, corporation, if you will, right? You have treaties with them, not with the individual states. Are you seeing what I'm saying here? We're supposed to be dealing with the feds, period. But see, how can this be problematic when, the eugenicists have trained these Negroes, right? And trained all these special select Negroes to encourage our youth, generation after generation, to say, fuck the government, fuck the police, so on and so forth. But meanwhile, right, we see what's happening here. This is why I ask, where are the results from these quote unquote black organizations? Show me results. They've been begging for this so-called reparations. And hold on, reparations for what exactly? You have to prove that you are the descendant of a slave, for one. You have to prove that. Yo, I've already proven that various breeds of foreigners, they're easy able to prove that they're a descendant of a slave. That's easy for them. That's easy. They know their ancestry. Eugenicists have hypnotized our American population, our American nation's descendants, within just recent generations, within the past 100 years of this full system, right? Into not knowing our fundamental and core truth and reality. Anthony Lowe, appreciate your presence. How you doing today? As far as I'm concerned, our American people, we all should have qualified immunity by default. Can we have qualified immunity? That's the question. Can we? Well, I say yes, we can. Let me read this here. Until we take back our government, whoa. All we got to do is claim our government. For one, know that this is ours. One, two, claim this is ours. Go through whatever procedures, the fundamental procedures, because everything's procedural, right? Because what we're seeing here is not only do they have action backed by their words, backed by their investments, backed by paperwork. They have 4 points. What we have is a lot of people doing frivolous debates. Are we Indians? Are we Negroes? Are we colored? Are we African Americans? Are we this? Are we that? Yo, I don't know what you is. I know what I am, right? I know what my people's is. I know my people when I see them, right? I know what pertains to us. I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to throw a blanket over everybody. That would be ignorant. Yo, we have a role in law enforcement. And I'm just speaking in regards to what you communicated here, Tay-Bay, right? We have, and we should, in past generations, we had a role in law enforcement, government, including military. And you're right. If we don't resume our rightful position, if we don't claim what's rightfully ours, yes, we will continue to have problems and greater enhanced problems, advanced problems with these invaders. Absolutely, we will. Our people have been intentionally directed away from our positions. Okay? We see it every day via the social media thing, right? We have people, youth, as well as, quote unquote, mature adults, right? They want to be strippers, rappers, entertainers. They want the bag via a contract to some kind of foreign corporation where they're going to sign away their rights for this so-called bag, right? How does that support their people? The bag is one thing, but the bag can be achieved, can be gained through other means without compromising your dignity, honor, and integrity. All right? There's other ways to do things versus the ways in which have been promoted towards our youth within the past generations, past recent generations. I mean, what, be an athlete, be a rapper, be a stripper, be a gangster, be a thug, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And how does this support our American nations? How does it support? Skilled trades, particular skill sets, roles in, public official capacities, right? There's no classes on how to become a chief, right? There's no classes like what are the duties of a chief? I mean, seriously, what are the duties of a chief of any of our American nations? What are the duties? What are the qualifications, etc.? Like, it's documented what they are, but does everybody know? Are our youth being directed in becoming chiefs? I'm not talking about a Chief Keef neither. I'm not speaking about a Chief Keef. I'm not talking about becoming a chief rapper. No, I'm speaking in regards to, investing your being, your presence into securing not only yourself, but your nation, your people. That's what this has always been about, as our ancestors showed us. All right. So yes, this is a great article here. It continues here with dangers. All right. It says qualified immunity can dissuade people from litigation, even those with undeniably valid claims. Absolutely. It's so like, if you have not studied tort laws, if you have not studied the tort claims, if you haven't studied legal filing procedure, if you haven't defined all these terms legally, so on and so forth, that means you are dependent on someone that has. That's dangerous. That's a whole deterrent. That can dissuade you where it's like, my rights been violated, but I don't know what to do about it. I got to go see one of these people that's most likely going to scam me. Because that's what we know has been happening. I mean, we see cases where, just the surface value wise, we see people that appear to be our American people, and they're having all types of legal issues. I saw an article the other day, a young man just got released from prison following finally having his day in court after 15 years. 15 years falsely in prison. And this is not just an isolated incident. No, we have numerous cases like this. We had those young men in New York from back in the 90s, right? They was incarcerated on some foreign female claimed that she got gang raped by this group of young men, right? This foreign female made this statement, right, which caused these young men to be falsely arrested, kidnapped essentially, right? Convicted, sentenced, and then many years later, over 20 years later, now was overturned, and they got a couple $1 million. These are regular occurrences. Some people never get their day in court. Some people die in prison. Some people are raped in prison. Some people become ill in prison. Some people are released, and then upon their return, they die in the streets. They suffer from illnesses, etc. Like, some people are just happy that they were released and just able to, breathe fresh air instead of that stale air and eat that strange GMO, whatever food they call it, in these facilities. And mind you, they're being housed for rates upwards of $50,000 per inmate. You have others that are released, actual criminals, they're released, and these actual criminals that are released, they return to the community in which they left from, or they go into another community, right? And they produce more criminality, more abuses of whatever type. From what we've observed in recent years, it looks like a lot of criminals have qualified immunity, huh? Could they be informants? Could they be operatives? I don't know everything. But these are things in which we have to be aware of within our communities and territories. All right? So you have that article there. Let me move on to the next. Let me go to drop this link in the chat. Oh, no, I can't drop this one here. It's a PDF I downloaded. So it says policing the police, qualified immunity and considerations for Congress. So there are active discussions. We have to be aware of these things. So how you doing? Appreciate your presence. We have to be aware of what's really going on. We have people that are actively involved in misinformation, disinformation, keeping your attention preoccupied with frivolous subject matters. Meanwhile, we have these active threats, right? Continuing. This here is the bond of indemnity to the sheriff. That is the language of how you get qualified immunity, okay? This is how they do it. Let me put this right here in the chat. Pardon me, that's the wrong thing right there. Hold on. Where we at? Copy that right there. Uh-oh, damn it. Here we go. Oh, well, let me copy from this document. I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to Google search. Bond of indemnity. So let me drop the link to this website here. One moment. Check this out for yourself. I'm sharing this to you all as a solution to an old and obvious problem, an active threat. Because once again, these invaders, they're being invited to become quote unquote public officials. They're not citizens, one. Two, we don't even know their history and background. They're able to assume any type of identity right now. They have not been vetted, and they're definitely not qualified to be a public official. All right. And they're being invited to not only becoming a public official, but also to having qualified immunity. That is a threat. So, what is an indemnity to sheriff marshal bond? Says here, zoom in on it. It says an indemnity to sheriff bond, aka marshal bond, is a type of surety bond that guarantees protection to law enforcement agencies seizing property on orders of the court on behalf of a plaintiff from a defendant. This bond prevents sheriffs or marshals to incur any liability should the defendant seek damages against the officers who seized the property. This type of bond, also called the marshal bond, ensures that sheriffs or marshals are reimbursed for any financial loss because the plaintiff failed to fulfill his or her contractual obligation. The financial costs include items such as labor, services, or materials that were used to enforce the seizure of the property. This is the real world. This is the real world here that we're dealing with. So once again, y'all, we need awareness on these subject matters. Awareness contributes to preparedness. Awareness contributes to preparedness. Question. In your youth, right? Were you being made prepared? Were you being made aware of these real world active threats that we are experiencing now in 2023? In your youth, were you being prepared for these threats that we're dealing with right here in 2023? I ask you that first. Second, and I want to conclude, right? Are our youth right now being made aware so that they'll be prepared for what's to come? Let's say the next 20, 50, 100,000 years. What do you say here, Tay Bay? I think our government is filled with Chinese spies. I mean, yo, we have operatives from all over the world present within numerous offices, whether corporate, quote unquote governmental, etc. An operative of various types, very present, been present. You know, your thinking is not flawed at all. I would definitely encourage you to, familiarize yourself with the terms of operative. You know, I did a presentation last week showing some things. In past presentations, I done defined, past operatives, that female that they call, quote unquote, Harriet Tubman, birth name Araminta Ross, right? Her mother called her Minty. She was an operative. She's a Moor. She's not American Indian. She worked for the American Colonization Society during her time. Remember, Planned Parenthood, they created the Negro Project. The Negro Project, well, they literally trained and hired quote unquote black operatives, Negroes. That was 1939 forward. It's still ongoing right now. As far as I'm concerned, anyone that communicates black, and anything foreign to our American people by default, they're an operative. If you are colorblind, you are an operative, in my opinion. You're not dealing with natural intelligence. You're dealing with foreign influenced artificial intelligence. That's my perception of things. That's what keeps me grounded. I share these things not to find, various events throughout history, past the present, right? So that you all can be aware, therefore prepared, because, it's vital that we are. So I'm going to conclude now. Appreciate y'all time and y'all presence. Stay healthy, stay strong. Now how I go, Cowboy season is over, scalp season is on. Yo, y'all stay healthy out there, man. Inform your peoples, tighten up. Look into these things in which I showed y'all today. Look into these things for yourselves. See what's going on with your local legislation, your territory. See what's going on within your territory, legislative-wise. Look up the legal definition of protest. I showed y'all in past presentations the legal definition of protest, which is to file. You are filing a legal document. It's called a protest. 2 weeks ago, I showed you the Cherokee Nation's protest. That was a filing. That was a legal document. You see what I'm saying? We have to resume the work of our ancestors. That's what it's about. That's what it's been about. So appreciate y'all. I'm out of here. I'm running these intros as outros. You know how I go. Yo, once again, as always, stay healthy, stay strong. Check out stopthegenocide.us. You know what I mean? If you appreciate my communications to you all, the life that I extend, you know what I mean, the energy, etc. Feel free to Cash App link is in the description right there. The link to stopthegenocide.us websites right there. It's all appreciated. It's all purposeful. You know what I mean? And ain't no scams or fraud going on my side. I ain't with none of that. You know what I mean? One thing I will do and continue to do is encourage life throughout our American nations, peoples, and all of that. Y'all be good.
Abanki Palami, Igbi, Atak, Intikba, Atak Shanspo, Maliki Okla, Okcha, Abahanta, Chatayakni, Anli, Yukpali, Ishkifa Nishkin, Oglush Enla, Abenili, Chata Atak, Ishkafushi. Almighty Creator, ancestors, our American people, awake. This is divine, sacred Chata land. Be faithful, be exalted. Foreign nations, colonists. You are in the eye of the tomahawk.
Tomahawk! Tomahawk! How we gonna do it? The hard way! How we gonna do it? The hard way! How we gonna do it? The hard way!
But you're not black. Remember, we only kill black people. Yeah, we only kill black people, right?
Tomahawk! How we gonna do it? The hard way! How we gonna do it? The hard way! How we gonna do it? The hard way!
We the people have been poisoned. Have you or anyone you know experienced hair loss, balding, bleeding issues, cancers, diabetes, and related health problems? These conditions and many others are the result of rat poisoning. In the early 1900s, eugenicists created a rat poison chemical which has intentionally been placed into personal care cosmetic product formulas, especially products labeled as natural. This chemical was designed to destroy your body on a cellular level through your blood. Common and popular brands contain this toxic rat poison chemical formula. Since at least the 1950s, millions of people have been suffering due to the damage caused by this chemical. Within each generation, the harm increases as this chemical crosses the placenta, compromising the natural development of babies. This book reveals not only the origins of this chemical, the harm to natural and reproductive health, but also the people responsible and the billions of dollars they profit each year. Visit stopthegenocide.us for more information. My name is Antonio Lorenzo. I am the author of the book and producer of the documentary, We the People Have Been Poisoned. My book and documentary is based on my research, which details the origins of the rat poison chemical ingredient and personal care cosmetic product categories that can be identified by its name, coumarin. This chemical is a known acute toxin, carcinogen, and teratogen. This rat poison chemical is responsible for the transgenerational, statistical, disproportionate physical and mental health disparities impacting the American population of natural women, men, and their daughters and sons, ultimately communities throughout North America. Additionally, my book and documentary reveals the eugenicists that created this chemical and their organizations, institutions, and corporations involved in this public threat to natural health and wellness. Your presence and support is appreciated. Visit www.stopthegenocide.us for more information.